Hello there. What's going on, everybody? Today I want to do a unit breakdown for Stormtroopers for Star Wars Legion because I feel like they're a little bit overlooked. And Star Wars Legion has been out for a little while now, and I think a lot of people have gravitated away from using Stormtroopers in their Imperial armies. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people are talking about saying things like that Empire is not as strong right now. And I think it's because a lot of people may have forgotten the power of the almighty Stormtrooper. So we're going to talk about that in today's video. If you guys are new here to the channel, there's still time left to enter to win that $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment. It's as simple as that. It automatically enters you to win. I usually announce winners towards the end of my videos. I also do some giveaways on live streams and in my Discord as well. So if you're not already a member of my Discord, check those links down in the description below. There's links to all kinds of other stuff, other ways to support the channel, following me on social media. I got my Instagram now, among other things. So all of that stuff is down in the video description. So check all of that stuff out. Let's go ahead and talk about Stormtroopers. So, Stormtroopers are the cheapest Imperial unit, the cheapest Imperial Corps unit that you can build an army based off. Yes, there is a unit that's cheaper, but you can't just take it on its own. So, the Stormtroopers are the first Imperial Corps unit. They are pretty much the cheapest way to start building your army. They come in the core set, and anybody who's been playing Legion long enough, since the beginning at least, has quite a few of these in their collection, unless of course you split a core set with somebody else. Now, they do have some pretty nice things to them. First off, they have surge to hit, which is good for core. You hate rolling those surges when you're attacking somebody and not being able to convert them into damage. They also have speed of 2, which is just universally decent and good, especially for cheaper troopers that you want to potentially have them grab objectives. And that's one thing that Stormtroopers are very good at, is having a cheap unit on the field that is kind of disposable and can go grab and secure objectives. They also have red defense die, which is exceptionally good. And that is one of the things that's going to help them stay alive when trying to hold objectives once they get to where they are going. They cost 44 points. They're going to be having a heavy weapon, and they're also going to have the personnel as gear and grenades for their upgrades. They're going to have a black die for unarmed and a white die for range. That's one of their weaker parts, is that they have these lower quality E11 blaster rifles, and well, they're just not that great. And now, granted, they get training, and that's why they have surge to hit, but they're using lower quality weapons. So the surge to hit is going to be important because it's going to impact a lot of the different choices we make when building Stormtroopers, as well as it being nice to kind of combo with other things, like if you're going to be using fire support or anything else like that, or any other heavy weapons that we put in here. Surge to hit is going to be a very nice option to have. And of course, their complement on the Rebel side, the Rebel Troopers don't have surge to hit, but they have surge for defense, but only the white defense die. So there's that's kind of that synergy. You're going to get 4 Stormtroopers in one unit, and I think that's about it. They're health 1 and courage 1, so they're not really remarkable in too many ways, but we did forget to mention the most important keyword here, and that's precise. Well, maybe the only keyword on here, because that's the only keyword they have. Precise 1 is a nice ability that allows you to reroll an additional die when you spend an aim token. Now, this is a pretty good ability, but it's not great because it's conditional. What I mean by that is it does nothing if you have to move twice, or if you have to move and shoot, or if you're suppressed and only get one action and you use that one action to shoot and happen not to have an aim token. So it's not going to do anything for you unless you have a target that you can shoot and you have an aim token. And there's not always going to be times for you to be able to use that ability. And it also isn't going to do anything for you if you happen to roll and get all hits, which is a really good problem to have. That's usually not going to happen with white dice, though. So, but we'll talk a little bit about different ways to kind of maximize that particular ability. And it is a good ability, and there's other ways to try to work with that. There's anything that's going to give aims being able to take an aim action is good, but there's other things in the Empire that already synergize with this ability. General Veers is pretty good with his built-in spotter capability, where he can hand out aim tokens. That certainly was one of the early synergies to happen in the Imperial faction. The command card Coordinated Fire is another card that kind of builds off of this desire to get aim tokens on lots and lots of troopers. And this is a great way to take advantage of having a lot of Stormtroopers out there all aiming at the same target or similar targets and gaining lots and lots of aims and kind of having that build on each other. So, there are ways to take advantage of precise, and these are some of those ways within the faction. Looking at upgrades, there are quite a few different personnel. So I'm going to start at the top and work my way down the list of upgrades that are available for Stormtroopers. We of course we have the basic Stormtrooper. Now also I have some red numbers next to these because the Stormtrooper has been changed over time. Costs have been adjusted for tournament games, while the printed costs are fine for casual games or kitchen table games. The organized play point costs is always kind of in flux, so about once or twice a year, everything is subject to being adjusted a little bit. So some of these are actually a little cheaper. And so that's nice. So the extra Stormtrooper used to be 11 points, now it's 8, and that just adds an extra mini to the unit, and that's nice that they've kind of brought that down a little bit. In the Stormtrooper Specialists pack, we got 2 new Stormtroopers. We got the Stormtrooper Captain at the top middle, and then, of course, the Stormtrooper Specialist right next to them. Both of those are sitting at 12 points now, and those are good options. The Stormtrooper Captain is one I don't take as often, but what's good about the Captain is kind of the same as the Captains for other factions, in that it gives you the training option, it becomes your leader, and it allows you to exhaust to ignore the effects of suppression, which with red dice, this one's a little more likely to still be alive and be suppressed, so this one can be pretty good for the Stormtroopers. The Stormtrooper Specialist is one of my favorites in that it has the ability to give you a free aim token. We were talking about ways within the faction that help you get free aim tokens. It's going to work well with precise. The Stormtrooper Specialist is a baked-in way to do that, but you're going to pay a little bit of a cost because while he's an extra mini, or they are an extra mini, it also is 4 points more expensive to use that particular card. So and also you are technically gaining an extra equipment upgrade icon, which isn't really as important. I think the more important thing here is the ability to gain the free aim. Additionally, you also can gain a free surge token. It would be odd for you to want to choose that option, but there could be some defensive situations where you're not shooting, you need to stay alive, and you decide you need the defensive surge more than you need the aim. But I think 9 times out of 10 you're going to choose an aim with the Stormtrooper Specialist. On the bottom row here, we have the additional personnel options that were made available in Imperial Specialists. Now, these are personnel upgrades that can go anywhere personnel can go for the Empire, whereas the top row are restricted to Stormtroopers only. Yes, the bottom one, Imperial Officer, is a good option to put on your Stormtroopers. It's a mini that can shoot. It's a leader. It increases your courage value, so you're less likely to lose an action and less likely to panic if you're away from your leader. And it also gives you Inspire 1, so it will also help inspire other people around you. It's nice to have a couple of Imperial officers, and if you just want to have some extra Inspire in your Imperial army, the Stormtroopers will be a cheaper way to be able to get this out. The Imperial Comms Technician stayed at 10 points. It's actually not a very good option, I think, to put on Stormtroopers because it's actually more expensive than the Stormtrooper now. Used to be cheaper, but now it's more expensive because Stormtroopers came down from 11 to 8, while the Comm Technician stayed the same. Comm Technician is definitely more likely to go on shoretroopers, because it gives you a comm upgrade, but you also have to use that. And there's really not a whole lot of comm upgrades that really need to go on Stormtroopers. So while it's already 2 points more expensive than the standard Stormtrooper variant, it also increases the cost because you have to pay for another upgrade. So a comms technician usually goes on shore troopers. Shore troopers are kind of one of the, the reasons people don't take stormtroopers as much anymore, because shore troopers are awesome and stormtroopers are terrible, or whatever. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, although shore troopers are very good. I still think there's a lot of magic left in the classic stormtroopers. And the FX9 medical droid, great card, hasn't really had to change very much. This is your doctor, this is your healer, and if you're looking to just have some stormtroopers out there that are kind of just filler, that can maybe grab objectives but also can heal, this is a cheap way to be able to put an extra body out there that can also heal. So if you're looking for the cheapest way to get an FX9 medical droid out there, it's going to be on a stormtrooper. Similarly with the R4 astromech droid, the same thing. This is going to be your cheapest way to get a repair out there. Don't take this one. I don't take this one as often, but it is an option. Now let's move on to the heavies. Now, honestly, also when I'm building a Stormtrooper unit, or most units, one of the first upgrades I look at is the heavy weapon first, but I wanted to go from top to bottom. But I usually look at the heavy first and then decide what personnel I'm going to run afterwards. So here are our different heavies that are available for our Stormtroopers. And I kind of have them ranked a little bit according to, at least according to my preference, but and I did include Del Meeko and Gideon Hask down here. They're awfully expensive, not necessarily the best people to put in Stormtrooper units. They can go in Stormtrooper units, however. These guys come in Inferno Squad, and they're very, very expensive. I feel like they're better off going in something like Snowtroopers, because Snowtroopers are kind of in a deficit right now for options and choices, and these kind of work a little bit better with Steady and some of the other things that work with Snowtroopers. So I don't really feel like these are particularly good options for Stormtroopers. Out of our Stormtrooper specific upgrades, we have the HH-12 Stormtrooper. I'm going to start on the left side, and work my way up. The HH-12 is our bazooka. This was in our core set in an initial launch of the game, and it was originally, they really thought this one was going to be in high demand, so it was originally costed at 34 points. Now it's down to only 20. I still think it's a little too expensive because of two big factors. One is it's cumbersome, so you can't move and shoot. That's always a pain in the butt. But also, it also exhausts, and then you're not going to be able to do it again. So I really don't like this weapon. If it was given Cycle, I think it could be usable in that case. Or if it lost Cumbersome, it might be usable. If it was given both of those, then it would definitely be usable, as far as, at least in my mind. But, I mean, Impact 3 isn't bad, and as vehicles become more and more prominent, the HH-12 might see more play, because Impact 3 is pretty good, and it's also especially good because you have Surge to hit, so you're more likely to actually make that impact matter. However, it's still not great. It's still not great. So it's one that you kind of need to be doing standby actions with, and it's great if you're just going to aim and standby, but how are you going to get into position? What's nice about it though is it does have that long range, but you also can't do it if you're up close. You can't use it at close range either, so it's not that great. Next up, we have the T-21 Stormtrooper. This one came in the Stormtrooper upgrade expansion. This one has actually come down a little bit from 27 to 24 points. It hasn't come down that much. This is just a very well-rounded heavy weapon. It's not supremely spectacular, but I do think it's a solid upgrade. It's just not great. It's range 1 to 3, kind of the same as your range already is. It's white dice, kind of the same dice you already have. And it has critical 2, which is alright, but you already have Surge to hit. So it's not spectacular, but it is 4 extra dice. And hey, extra dice are good because they could all land. So I do like extra dice. I think the T-21 works better in types of builds where you're going to have extra aims. If you're expecting that a unit might be able to get lots of extra aims, maybe the T-21 is a good option for you, because with that many white dice, you're gonna have lots of blanks. And so if you ever thought you might want to spend more than 1 aim on a Stormtrooper, or more than 2 aims on a Stormtrooper, this might be an option. So it might be good with that 3-pip card that we talked about earlier. Moving up the chain, the DLT-19 is a really nice upgrade. This was definitely the most common upgrade for the longest time on Stormtroopers, because this one also came with the core set. It is range 1 to 4. It's 2 red dice and does have impact 1. Yet another reason why that HH-12, Stormtrooper was just not seen very much, because they're like, well, why do I want this one guy for impact 3 when the vehicles are already rare, when I've already got my vehicle, I can already use the DLT to deal with vehicles, and if if impact 1 is a problem, I'll just run 3 DLTs or 5 DLTs or even 6 DLT-19s. So that was early builds. People would run all DLT-19s. They had great range, which they also could discharge at range 1, and it was much cheaper. And it was red dice, so you're way more likely to have hits without even needing the aim. So now you could move and shoot, and that's another advantage it have. Now, fortunately, now the DLT is, while it has been reduced, it's a little more expensive than the HH-12, but it's still a vastly superior weapon. Having red dice is just great on a unit that only has white dice, and that range 1 to 4 is fantastic. Up next, the RT-97C. This one is my favorite, because I do like lots of dice, but I also like the consistency of red dice, and this one's kind of like the best of both worlds. It is also the most expensive, though. You're paying for what you get, but the RT-97C is 1 red and 3 white at range 1 to 4. Nothing special. You don't get that impact, no problem. Plus it's only available in the Stormtrooper expansion, so it's not like I've got 6 of them. Although maybe some of you do. But I think it's a really nice unit to throw in there if you're looking for lots of dice to spread out. Or if you want to split fire too, it's a good option, because you're probably going to get at least 1 hit with that red naturally without even having to spend an aim. And if you're just looking to put out suppression, that's another thing. Or of course, you can also just group them up together and really maximize your dice and give you the best chance of getting lots of hits. So I like the RT-97C. But I mean, I would say out of all of them, the DLT-19 is good, and the T-21 is also good. So I think all 3 of those top 3 are all great options, and they kind of differ depending on how you're thinking of running things. Critical 2, while it's not that great on that T-21, it is potentially good for if you're going up against, maybe if you don't know what you're going up against. It could be good against vehicles. It can also be really good if you're going to get up against people that are using dodge tokens a lot. If you're going to be shooting into Jedi, all of a sudden, boom, well, you can't cancel that. You probably can't cancel that. Or if you're shooting into cover, it's really nice having that critical. So, there's uses for at least those 3 are the 3 that I would recommend. Now, we also have gear. I don't usually take gear on Stormtroopers all the time, but if I'm going to, here's kind of how I rank the gear options. I think electro binoculars is a really good option for Stormtroopers. If you are looking to run maybe a cheap Stormtrooper, or you're just not sure, I just think there's a lot of Stormtrooper options that can benefit from having the added utility of being able to hand out aims. And since Stormtroopers are very cheap, you can put this on some Stormtroopers, have them kind of get into position and go. Or if they're running a leader or a medic or something like that, and they just want to be kind of close to everybody else to support, because I think Stormtroopers can work really well as a support core option. Electro binoculars is really good for any kind of support build. In the kind of mid-tier, we've got 4 different gear upgrades there. Targeting scopes is really good in only some configurations for Stormtroopers. Targeting scopes, because you already have Precise 1, it's giving you more of what you already have, is going to be great on any unit that's going to have a lot of dice, and is guaranteed to have aims, because what you can't have is a unit with targeting scopes that somehow doesn't get an aim. That's a huge fail. So, and I'll show you some builds towards the end of this video too. Ascension cables can be nice if you're looking for somebody who's going to be going after objectives. The Ascension cables is an exhaustible, but if you pair that with other exhaustible things, that can also be pretty nice. But it's good for getting around the board. And it kind of really defeats a lot of other upgrades that just weren't as good. Portable scanner is a great option if you're trying to stay next to Jedi. If you want somebody who's got a medic and is following Darth Vader around, maybe you want to run a portable scanner on there who can heal Vader and also give him extra dodge tokens. That's a cool option. And recon intel is just universally decent. But what makes recon intel great is that it's so cheap. So if you got like 3 points left over or 2 points left over, and you're just not sure what to do, that's something you could do if you don't need a bid for blue player. And at the bottom, some of the older mobility upgrades, grappling hooks, not really. I mean, Ascension Cables has made environmental gear and grappling hooks kind of pointless. And then emergency stims, it's not for a unit like this. You don't need to spend that much. I mean, emergency stims is way more expensive now. Actually costs more than a Stormtrooper, so it's not cost effective for Stormtroopers. And then grenades. I don't usually take grenades on Stormtroopers because they're kind of long-range fighters, but if you want to be prepared for that eventuality, fragmentation grenades are awesome. Look, you've already got surge to hit, so the frag grenade isn't giving you that much there, but it is upgrading your dice pool from white to red, and that is a big bump. And then you're also getting the marginal increase of surge from surge to hit up to surge to crit. So that's also nice. And fragmentation grenades are just universally good. They're good in just about every situation. So that much is cool. Impact grenades are maybe a close second. They're still upgrading your dice pool from white to black. But the reason I put them as a close second is because they've gone down in price. They're only 3 points now. So whereas frags are a little bit more expensive. So you can, if you're running multiple Stormtroopers, you can potentially run, impact grades on a couple of them without breaking the bank anymore now. And impact grenades will work a little bit better on Stormtroopers because they have surge to hit already, so you're more likely to have those hits. You're not, if you didn't have surge to hit, it might not be as good because you might get those surges. Now they don't turn into hits and then don't turn into crits. So impact grenades can be quite nice. The EMB droid popper is actually not terrible because you're able to still upgrade from white to black, and Ion 1 can situationally be good. Again, it's situational, but even now you're still, black dice is still good. It's the same thing with concussion grenades. They're a little bit more, useful, but also when the situation comes, like having Ion at the right time could be really, really great. Whereas blast can be great, but if you're that, usually you're not going to be that close, right? But at the bottom of all of them, I put the smoke grenades just because they take an action, and they're, even if they made them free, I don't know if I'd probably put them on there if they were free, but I still can't. I don't know if I'd be actually dropping smoke that often. I would like smoke grenades more if it was a free action as opposed to an actual action. One of the things, I want to compare them to shoretroopers a little bit, and it's a loose comparison I want to make here. But this is one of the things, like people talk about, shoretroopers, are just the ultimate, and that's the only thing you should run. Well, it's not necessary. I mean, I'm paraphrasing because I don't think there's that many people that say this is the only thing that you should run. But I think it's worth kind of drawing some comparisons as far as point costs are concerned. Because here's one way I might want to look at a similar dice pool. Because the short troopers on the bottom here, stormtroopers on the top. 97 points versus 78 points. This is just one loadout. I mean, I could make the Stormtrooper loadout cheaper still if I went with like a T21 or something like that. It'd be the same amount of dice, but then it'd be all white dice. So, the short troopers are giving you black dice, and that's good. Black dice are good, but you also don't have surge to hit. The T21 does have critical 1. That's not bad. It's also got range 4, and it's got 2 black and 2 white. That's pretty good. RT97C has a red, which is even better, but everything else is going to be white. So there's a little bit of a trade-off there. It's not a super even comparison because, again, short troopers also have they also have a training upgrade, and they also give you the ability to bring in a mortar trooper and then be able to do fire support because the mortars are cheaper. So there's certainly a lot more to consider, and this is not apples to apples. This is definitely apples to oranges. But if we're looking at them as pieces of fruit, just to say, well, you know what, Stormtroopers can get you a similar dice pool, and for a huge discount. I think that's worth considering, especially with the surge to hit kind of potentially being the difference maker here. I think it's worth considering. So here, there's cheaper ways too. Again, we could run things a lot differently. A lot of times, a short trooper will have a comms guy in there, and he'll have HQ uplink so that he can make sure he gets an order, he gets that free aim token. Look, the aim token's great, but you have to get the order to do it, and that kind of makes the cost for shore troopers even higher. All right. So again, there's a lot of those things. So let's take a look at a couple of builds for Stormtroopers and ways that you might run them. So like if I'm looking for maybe just a support Stormtrooper, right? I've got an FX9 medical droid here who's going to be able to heal somebody, and this could be somebody who tags along to your commander. This could be somebody who tags along in the middle of some of your other heavy hitters. Electro binoculars, again, good support option. I mean, I talked about giving out dodges before. You can certainly use the dodge version of that and have them tag along with Vader, or you can use electro binoculars to have them tag along with some of your other units that are going to need those. It makes for a cheap core unit to attach some good support elements to, and then it can also be a unit that holds an objective. If we want to go a little bit more versatile, we might want to go with a Stormtrooper Captain. The Stormtrooper Captain is going to give you the training upgrade. Maybe we would put Hunter on there. Here's another way to get free aims. The DLT-19 gives us a cool option to trigger Hunter and do some cool stuff. So let's say we are going to take a range 4 shot with the DLT-19, but we want to split fire because maybe we've got a target that's close to us also, and we want to make sure we can use precise, but we also have to maybe raise the moisture evaporator level or something like that. Maybe we can't take the aim that we want to take. Well, here's an option. You take a shot at their commander. As soon as you take that like you split fire, right? The DLT takes a shot at the commander. Even if they don't get a wound through, maybe it's in a heavy cover or whatever, you still get that aim token. Then you save the aim token for the second shot, which is against somebody they would normally have only your other white dice, but now you get to reroll 3 of those with precise 1, because you might not want to use the aim token on the DLT-19, who's only got 2 dice, and they're probably both going to be hits anyway. So maybe you can kind of manufacture an aim generating machine with something like this. This could be a kind of a cool way to split fire, put out a lot of suppression, still be able to hold an objective, and put damage on 2 units at the same time. Could be pretty fun. If we want to spend a lot of points, well, let's go for something that I am more of a fan of, and this is kind of making sure targeting scopes is going to work really, really well for us. We could run an RT-97C like I like to run with lots of dice. We got the good range on there. We're going to give him the Stormtrooper Specialist, who is going to be able to give us a free aim token. So when it's time for us to take that shot, we can even aim, then get a free aim through that action, and that wouldn't be 2 aim actions. So we can make sure we have 2 aims, as long as we're not suppressed, and who knows how many more we'll get from other units. We have the targeting scope, so we're going to be able to reroll an additional die. So this is going to give us 4 dice per reroll. I ran something very similar to this in my most recent battle report. If you haven't already, check that out. And maybe for this extra gear slot, we'll run ascension cables also. Again, that one I could kind of take it or leave it, but if we're maxing it out, then let's put ascension cables on there too. And I'll run impact grenades too, in case we do end up getting too close to somebody else. Then we have an even nastier die pool. And makes us very versatile. We're prepared for rough terrain. We're prepared for vehicles. We're prepared for long-range fights. We're prepared for not being able to get an aim through anything else. We'll still have that Stormtrooper Specialist. This and while this is a very formidable build of Stormtrooper, this comes out to be only 93 points, which is actually cheaper than Shore Troopers with just the heavy and extra Shore Trooper. So I think it's just kind of worth putting things into perspective. Stormtroopers, while they are cheaper, they can be pretty nasty. So hopefully this has been eye-enlightening or eye-opening. I don't think I enlighten your eyes. What's the word? Eye-opening, yes. Or enlightening, or maybe this is just a bunch of stuff you already knew. Maybe I'm preaching to the choir. Let me know, what do you think in the comments below? Are you a fan of Stormtroopers already? Or do you still think that Shore Troopers are the way and the truth? And, or are Stormtroopers like just an option to run naked and go after objectives for you? I would love to hear your thoughts. Also, if you're not already in my Discord, jump in there. We have Legion channels. We're family friendly. We have communities for other games as well. If you're interested in not just Legion, but we also have communities in the Discord for X-Wing and Armada and hobbying in general. All kinds of stuff like that. Jump in, join the family, talk to us, let me know what you think. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you're interested in supporting the channel, big thanks to my patrons. Check out Patreon. They help make this channel possible. Thank you, patrons, so much for your continued support. If you want to learn more, check the links in the description below. Thank you guys so much, and as always, have a great day.